saying. I have to be at work in 45 minutes, and I want to weigh in on the controversy. I'm planning on getting more structured and putting out more content. It's just a matter of balancing time and keeping a decent schedule. But I want to weigh in really quick on the conversation about Turning Point USA and the legacy of Charlie Kirk and everything that's going on with Candace Owens and just the state of the United States of America's union in general, because there's a lot of stuff that I would like to address. The first thing I want to say before I go on my rant, so that it's clear, is that, well, first I should introduce myself in case you're new to the channel. I'm Paul Emerson. My channel is built on science and philosophy, and I speak as an American that is not Christian, and I don't identify as a black person. And I know that last one of not identifying as a black person is probably going to be weird, but it should make sense as I continue. And it's relevant to what's going on with Turning Point USA because of the nature of what that whole idea is, right? What I want to say before I move forward, for anyone that's actually watching and paying attention and taking notes, Turning Point USA wants us, the general population of the earth, to understand the values of race. They want us to understand the values of race. They want us to accept the values of race, but they want us to reject the idea of discrimination and inequality and racism. And what I mean by that is that Turning Point USA wants you to accept the idea of a black man and a white man and stop complaining about racism and get into your complacent place. They want you to know what it is to be a white person. They want you to know what it is to be a black person. They want you to know what it is to be an Islamic person. They want you to understand the axioms of these things, the way that teacher said, this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. Well, what is the nature of A? What is the defining characteristics of an A, and how does that differentiate from a 1? What is the qualities that make an A, right? The axioms is like, no, you're a child, this is an A. If you see this shape in nature that we created, identify this shape in nature as an A. Well, what is an A? Don't worry about what an A is. Understand the axiom. This is an A. Because on top of this axiom, there are going to be more axioms that you need to understand. But you can't understand the other axioms until you understand that this is an A, right? They don't want you to accept the fact that there's racism in the world, but they want you to think in the ideology of white person, black person, Muslim person, Islamic person, Semite, etc., etc., etc. Human beings are human beings. It annoys the hell out of me when I hear somebody say, well, Africans those are the original black people. No. Africans are not fucking black people. Africans are a nation of people older than every other nation of people on this planet. That is an axiom. A group of people that govern themselves under laws is an axiom. That's what makes us human. The thing that separates humans from everyone else is that we govern ourselves by principles and laws and have courts and justice systems. We work and operate together for the unity of each one of us individually at the sacrifice of making sure that the whole benefits more than the individual. That's how it's supposed to work. White people have created a condition that says that we are superior to everyone else because of how we look. That is not now how nature works. It's not how nature works. If you were in the wild and you walked up to a lion and you said that I'm white and you're a lion, that lion would eat you. Because it doesn't fucking care about your ideology. It doesn't care about anything you have to say to it. That's why we invented guns, to be superior. And the thing that we forget about the history of the world is that Europeans took gunpowder from China and created a weapon. The Chinese created art. The Chinese created this way to create this beautiful spectrum in the sky, and was experimenting with alchemy and trying to figure out the mysteries of the universe. And Europeans saw that and was like, I bet I can turn that into a weapon. I bet I can make a weapon that I can use to go around the world and conquer everything and then put myself above everybody else. Europeans sat around and they thought to themselves, what makes us human? And they looked outside of everything of themselves and defined themselves in opposition to nature itself. Europeans looked at the Africans, all of the aristocratic, philosophical, enlightened Europeans of the time and age, living the way that they were living in opposition to nature during their time, and said, if everything evolves to be better than the last, if the future generations are superior to the last generations, logical fallacy, then it stands to reason that the white skin and the light hair and the blue eyes is superior to our ancestors, the African. Why? Why? Hi. Because they want to be fucking lazy. They want to be fucking lazy. They don't want to have to work. When you run capitalism and you want to make maximum profit at minimum gain, how do you do that? You don't pay your workers a wage. You don't pay your workers a wage. That's how you make maximum profit for minimum gain. But how do you logically do that if society is designed so that everybody is supposed to prosper? You create fucking classism. You create classism. You say, you are a group of people that are going to work for free, and we are a group of people that are going to profit from it. And when everybody looked exactly the same, like in China or in Germany or in Russia or in Paris or in Australia or anywhere where the nationality of people all are the same because they are all brothers and sisters that look exactly the same, it is very difficult for classism to be defined by a single family. Now, what I'm trying to say is that you have a last name as a person on this planet. And imagine if somebody told you that your last name makes you a black person that has no qualifications in life. You can't ever own any property. You can never do anything. You can never be successful. What you are going to do is be a slave forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And your children will be slaves, and your children's children will be slaves, and you will always serve the needs of everybody else around you, and you will never be allowed to have the same quality of life as them. And then when you fight against that, what they do, what Europeans did, is they invented fucking Christianity. That's what they fucking did. They invented Christianity, and they used Christianity to justify that some people are going to not have enough and some people are going to have a lot. And it's because of God that you're in the position that you're in. And all of this is happening before the idea of race. When everybody was in their own little environments, in their own little communities, doing their own thing at their own level, to where it was like, well, some Romans are slaves and some Romans are free. Well, some Africans are slaves and some Africans are free. But what they did when they invented white was they said, we will always be on top. When you look at the tech bros, as they call them, and you see them bitching and complaining and whining, it's because they were told as children, you will never fail. You will always be on top. No matter what happens in life, no matter what you go through, your wealth, your equality, your wealth, your status, your position in life is innate to who you are, and that can never change. It doesn't matter if you decide you want to be homeless on the street. It doesn't matter how much crack you want to do. It doesn't matter how far down you fall. You will always be on top. Donald Trump went from having tons of money to losing tons of money to having tons of money again. But the average American, if we go into debt, we lose what we have. We don't get to go back up. But that's what white implies. And everybody that's watching this that's of a young age understands that innately because they hear the axioms. They hear the axioms. Turning Point USA wants to make it seem like what they're doing is noble because they want you to understand that being a white person automatically means that you're better than black people. And if black people would just stop bitching and complaining and do the work of being a fucking servant, they leave that part out. Of being your fucking servant. If black people would just understand that white people are superior and black people are inferior, and if you would just move into your inferior world, you'd be happy. You'd be happy not to have to try to operate at the highest level of being a human being because you're not a human. And the more you try to move out of being a fucking dog and being a pet and move into actually being what you were born to be, which is a servant and a slave, because that's the image that Jesus made you in. That's why you have brown skin. This is the stuff that they don't say, but the axioms are there. And the more you listen to the rhetoric and the more you deal with the conditions of the world, the more you move into that space. And that's the reason why me and Ness are constantly conflict, because you want me to accept not being fucking good enough because of the color of my skin and my hair texture. And it doesn't make any sense for me as a person that lives in a society to accept the bare minimum. I don't understand. I would love to be a garbage man if it afforded me the quality of life that I wanted. If I could be a fucking garbage man and have a wife that loves me and be able to provide for children and take care of them and provide a future for them that would be more than them just being a fucking slave, that would be great. I would sign the fuck up. But there is no benefit for an African American to constantly have to pretend like this world is not trying to put us back into fucking slavery. There's no benefit for us. And when you are Caucasian and you have been told all your life that you're better and you're superior and that you are just that way because of who you are based on your skin complexion, and I'm asking you, hey, can you share, you have the whole fucking cake, can you share a slice? You're like, but it's my cake. Why should I give you a slice of my cake? Why can't you get your own cake? Because the whole fucking country is designed to make sure that I don't have cake. The whole country is designed so that you have cake and I don't have cake. And when I bring that to your attention, the whole country is designed to tell me that I'm just being lazy and that I'm not working hard enough and that I'm not making an effort. How does that benefit either one of us? Because if you would just share your fucking cake, I wouldn't have to keep asking you for cake. I could have my cake and you could have your cake. But there's a large group of people that value themselves by defining themselves by how much more they have than everyone else. And if I have a cake and you have a cake, you don't feel good about yourself unless you have two cakes and I have one cake, but you don't want to be in a position to have to make a second cake for yourself. You want me to make you a cake and you want me to give you your cake so that you can have two cakes and I can have one cake so that you can feel better about yourself. And you should fucking pay me for that shit. Pay me for it. If it's valuable to you, you should pay me for my service. But racism demands that my service as an African American in this country is not adequately compensated. And there is a law in thermodynamics that says the perpetual motion of any kind is not possible. It's physically impossible. So why then do we have systems in our society that operate based on the second law, well, not the second law of thermodynamics, but the law that violates the conservation of energy and violates and actually operates under the principles of perpetual motion? Why? Why is that how economics work? Why is that how our society is built? Why? I would love to understand why these things are a thing. And I don't have a problem with people. I don't have a problem with Caucasians. I don't have a problem with Jewish people. I don't have a problem with the Islamic folks and the Palestinians. I want Jesus to come fucking down from his goddamn cloud and go tell the Palestinians or the Israelites who is fucking right and who is wrong. And if he can't fucking do that, then we should handle it at the human level. And we should just say to both of them that neither one of you has the right to attack and kill each other over fucking land. It's just land. Mutually define your fucking values so that y'all can live together in harmony. But they don't want to do that because they believe that who they are has to be defined against who the other person is. Doesn't make any fucking sense. And if you go back far enough in history, you can see who was fucking there first. You can see it. The history's there. But we don't do that because we allow ourselves to believe white, black, Semite, Israel, Jew. What is a Jew? What is the definition of a Jew? It's just a fucking language. It's just language. It's just court systems and the evaluation of how rules and regulations and ordinances are put together. They're just a tight-knit group of people that do what? What is the most defining characteristic of a Jew? They do what? Say the word out loud. What do Jewish people do with each other that they don't do with non-Jewish people? They fucking discriminate. Do they all discriminate? No. The same way they know all white people discriminate. But is there a group of people that are inherently Caucasian in this country that benefit from being Caucasian in spite of the same quality of life that an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos or a Donald Trump benefit from. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that ideology, the ideology of nations discriminating and creating classism, when it was brought into religion, is what is the foundation of what the radical Jewish community is doing. It is not all, there are layers of classism and discrimination, but the classism at the highest level of these organizations in this ordered structure, there is a group of nationalized people at the nation level that create laws and regulations that make sure that some people at the legal level of humanity benefit from being a certain ethnicity and suffer for being a certain ethnicity. There will always be classes of people that don't have enough, and there will always be classes of people that have enough, as long as we individually accept that shit as true. As long as we continue to believe at our level that everybody has a fucking cell phone. I have two. Everybody has a cell phone. There is enough resources and there's enough logistics so that everybody can have enough. Because enough doesn't mean access. And even though you might want access, is you having access acceptable when there are people walking around that have nothing? Is it acceptable for you to have 2 or 3 times more than you need when you're driving down the street past homeless people that don't have anything? Or should we as a group be working together to make sure that everybody has enough? And that's the point of like the whole reason why I'm making this rant, because Turning Point USA wants you to accept that black people are inferior. They want you to just accept the fact that as soon as I say you're black, you're not good enough. Africans are not fucking black. There's no reason why Africans should be coming to America looking at me and disassociating with me because they think that I'm inferior. And I get tired of every time I have to go somewhere that the first thing I have to do is validate myself as not a criminal, not a rapist, not a murderer, not a crackhead, not an asshole, not a pervert. Like, it's exhausting every time I walk into a new situation with new fucking people that I've never met, that doesn't know anything about me, don't even know my first fucking name, that I have to go out of my way to try to create energy for them, to get them to understand that I'm not what Fox News or any of these other outlets say. I don't have time for that every fucking day. Every goddamn day, every fucking day. You want me to make you feel comfortable about me based on axioms that you never experienced from me. I never stole from you. I'm not robbing you. I don't have a gun. I'm not doing any of this bullshit. So why do I have to constantly go out of my way to validate myself to you? Like, what is the reason for that? Like, why? Why is that always a thing? And it's like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Why do I always have to do that? Because we want to accept the fact that no matter what's going on in the world, if you have dark skin and nappy hair, quality of your life is a direct consequence of your unwillingness and your inability to function at the human level in a game that is rigged against you to fail. If you're playing a game and the rules of the game are designed so that you cannot be successful, you cannot win at that game. As soon as you win the game, they change the rules. If you look at the history of sports, when Caucasians are playing sports and discriminatory ways and isolated themselves, and it was just them playing sports, the game was played a certain way. And as soon as they let non-white people into sports, what did they do to the rules? They changed the rules to make the game harder. And they changed the rules, make the game harder to the point where what? Caucasians can't even compete into the games that they tried to define in ways that would allow them to maintain their superiority over African Americans. And I'm not saying that so that you can understand that African Americans are superior, because if you think that's what I'm saying, you missed the rant. They do that to create the idea that we are physically stronger than them so they can justify why we should do manual labor. I'm not a victim. That's the point. You're missing the nuance of the whole thing that's going on in the world. But the cool thing about being young is that one day you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to have to confront this stuff. And what has happened in our world is the adults my age are not communicating this to you. So when you find yourself at the crossroad where you see an African American that's working with you, that is your buddy and is your friend and is your equal, and you have all this camaraderie with them, and then you see that asshole come over and he walks over and tries to get that guy to go back into being a fucking black person, are you gonna say, hey, leave my friend alone, go the fuck away with your racist bullshit, or are you going to defend your friend so that he doesn't have to sound like a victim because of the way he's being treated by somebody that doesn't know him? Because that's what I had to deal with every fucking day of my life, being a good, honest, decent person that wasn't punching people in the fucking throat. That's what I had to deal with. So you can argue with me, but you can't change your own environment. And I know what your environment is because I've been all over the world. You can tell me that I'm a victim and that I'm whining and I'm complaining and that I'm making shit up. But you know, you sit in the meetings where you guys sit around and evaluate and think about what's going on and justify how you want to just get rid of the person you don't like. If you don't like somebody, you treat them like shit. That's just human nature. It's not okay to not like somebody because of their skin complexion. That's discrimination. You need to let that person prove that he's a fucking crackhead. You need to let that person prove that he's gonna sexually assault somebody. You need to let him prove it. I'm not saying let him do it, but you need to let his nature show you who he is. We all should have that right. There are no organizations in America that are black owned. There are no Caucasians going to establishments that are dominantly African American and having to get discriminated against by the people that work there that are African American. That doesn't fucking happen in America. White people don't go to organizations owned by non-white people and get discriminated against when they try to apply for jobs. You don't have to go into a community of people that are not you and apply for a position and deal with the fact that you don't fit their culture. You don't fit their culture. Because as soon as you walk in the door as a Caucasian man, they're like, money is here. It doesn't fucking matter what you look like. They automatically associate Caucasian men with wealth and prosperity because that's the rhetoric that has been being pushed out there for so long that we don't question that shit anymore. We don't fucking question it. Nobody questions what Caucasians do. Nobody does. But that's the problem. Turning Point USA is like, understand that the reason why Caucasians are moving the way that they're moving and the reason why we're so successful and the reason why we're doing what we're doing is because we're just better. That's bullshit. You're not fucking better. I've worked next to you. You guys are not fucking better at every fucking thing. You just have the resources from slavery, and racism perpetuates the idea that you should be in the positions that you're in when you're not fucking qualified. If you're not qualified, you should be moved out of that position until somebody that is qualified moves into that position. Saying anything that goes against the standard norm will make you sound like you're upset. What I'm saying is the truth. See, everybody gets on a stage and says, you have to say the truth, and the truth is based on God, and God is Jesus. But the conflict is, Jesus only is used to enforce the idea of white dominance in the world. That's the conflict. The conflict is the axiom of Jesus is that white is right and everything else is wrong. That's the conflict. That's like, if you think about it, that's the conflict. The conflict is like Candace Owens said, it's not okay to promote genocide, and they're like, she's stamping on Charlie Kirk's legacy. Is Candace Owens saying that genocide against anyone is bad? It is. If it's going against Charlie Kirk's legacy, are they saying Charlie Kirk's legacy is genocide? Like, is that how the axiom work? No, because they've already told you what the axioms are. They keep shoving the axioms down your throat until you stop thinking for yourself, and then once you get comfortable with the axioms, then it starts to hit. It starts to hit when every time that Donald Trump says, I want to make America great again, you innately hear, I want to make white America great again. The axiom is already there. When he says, I want to make America great again, you hear, I want to make white America great again. And it's always convenient for you to stand in a position as a Caucasian to not have to take sides until you have to take sides. And guess what side I'm always on? Because of my hair texture and my skin complexion. I'm always on the side of the person that will be put back into fucking slavery. That's why you don't have a problem with ICE agents walking through your streets as a Caucasian, for those of them that don't, because you know that ICE isn't out there looking for you. You know that they're not out there looking for you. But you think that it's okay for them to take human beings that have to take care of their family and their children. You think that my children, my daughter doesn't have to eat food just because they identify me as an African American? You don't think that, like, as soon as you say, oh, he's black, you don't think that any of the human stuff still matter? I still have to drink water. I still have to eat food. I still need shelter or I'm uncomfortable. I still get sick if I'm exposed to the elements. So what are we supposed to be doing with all this information? Like, what is the goal? You just shut your brain down and operate from your axioms, and then you don't have to worry about none of that stuff. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, then you can sign out of YouTube, or you can sign out of Facebook, or you can sign out of Instagram. But at the end of the day, what exactly is the goal of what we're moving toward as a group of people on this planet? What I have done, or what I realized from my platform, from my 2 cents, is that this idea of the conditions of what's going on in America, and the conditions of what's going on in Israel, and the conditions of what's going on in Japan and China is a human condition. And since we have the connectivity now at our level as individuals, at the average position in society, there's more people at the bottom than there are at the top. And I'm not saying that you should become radical and you should go blow shit up and you should get guns and murder each other. I'm just simply saying, if you don't agree with something, we should start not engaging in that thing that we don't agree with. And then when the consequence of not agreeing with something negatively affects you, call it for what it fucking is. Call it for what it fucking is. If you are a Caucasian and you have an African American working for you, and your boss is like, hey, I need to cut somebody, and it's gonna negatively affect somebody, I feel like I should get rid of the African American so that we can keep our job. You should say, hey, how about I just go get a better job than the one that you already offered? I have more skills than him. I'm going to be able to get jobs faster. This is going to be easy for me. I can get unemployment. I can ask my wife if she's willing to cover down so that this other individual can deal with the adversities of a poor economy that we're dealing with. No, we don't fucking do that. You know why? Because it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's fucking retarded for you to quit your job so that an African American can have better. But guess what? That's what should be happening. We should be able to look at each other and see the quality of life between us and be willing to sacrifice at our own levels for each other so that we can all be prosperous. But we're not fucking doing that because we're too busy listening to all of this unnecessary rhetoric so that rich people can have money to do what? What are they going to do with all these billions of dollars? What do they need all this money for? What are they going to do? They should be providing a fucking service. We should be paying for an actual service. They shouldn't be creating conditions that make them wealthy at the sacrifice of everybody else, and then justifying it by saying you're better than black people, so just understand that even though you're struggling, black people got it worse than you do. How does that benefit any fucking body? How does that benefit anybody? No, it's feminine. You said it's women talk. It's not women talk. It's feminine. It's feminine versus the masculine, because the feminine is the nurturer that tries to protect. The masculine is the provider that tries to defend. So what I'm saying sounds weird because you got women around you that are talking like they're accountable and responsible, but they're not. Right? Like, we're supposed to be protecting each other, and we're not. We're being complacent and compliant in opposition to a world that doesn't want us to be successful. Like, that's the way that it works. I'm out front of my job. I quit a job making $4,000 because they were treating me like shit. And I got this job and I have to go work for fucking Caucasian. Where is a job that I can, as an African American, can go work? Where is an African American owned warehouse that's hiring competent young men, well, competent men, because I'm not really young no more, that can drive forklifts? Where's it at? Put the link in the bio, and then I'll quit this job and go work for people that look like me. Only me, one African American, and a white woman from the South Africa with dual citizenship. You're just black. No, you can tell me that I'm black, but I don't define myself as black. The definition of black is to be a person that has been oppressed. I don't define myself as black because this is the reason why. Because Caucasians want us to understand that the reason why you're struggling in life as an African American is because you're not working hard enough. Why should I work harder for less? Why should I work harder for less? You make an axiom and a postulate that makes that shit make sense for me, and then I will be black. What I am is an American that has a lineage in a country that was given to me by Caucasians that doesn't define my history because they didn't keep very good records. That's what I am. I am an African American because my skin texture and my hair texture matches the people that dominantly looks like Africans. They say that I am a minority here in America, but when it comes to the African continent, I am the majority. And when it comes to the planet, the African population is the second largest on the earth, despite all of the fucking years of genocide that was perpetuated by the Semites in the Middle East and the Europeans in the North. So when they sit here and they give you their fucking rhetoric, they're setting you up to just accept conditions that they already have planned for us. I'm not making excuses. I'm sitting in my car, working my job, chilling that life. That's the axiom. When you look at the comments, those are the axioms. That's the axiom. That is the axiom. Quit whining, quit complaining, quit benching, take accountability for yourself. It's not nobody's fault but your own. These are the axioms. I don't have the control. I don't have the authority. I don't have the power. I'm not powerless, but I have to follow the rules of the law. I have to show up to work on time. If I'm late, I get laid off. I have to deal with the realities of the world that I live in. I have less money than the people that work next to me, and I still have to engage at the same level that they engage at. So you have to realize that this is what's going on. I'm not taking a pill. My 2 cents, the goal of my 2 cents is self-improvement through self-education, and it is applied science and philosophy. And what I have realized, all this social media bullshit, what I have realized is that the biggest problem in this world is that I didn't have a Paul Emerson that taught me the things I needed to know when I was 19 and 20 and was able to get it. I didn't have somebody that could show me how to navigate the world and be honest and kind and respectful and humble and decent. I didn't have that shit. And you know what I did? The best that I could from my ignorance. And I didn't fail at life because I chose to be a good person. But I wasn't able to navigate a fucking world that doesn't want you to be successful if you're honest, kind, decent, humble, respectful, and like that's not the way society is structured. Society's not structured for that because you can't be fucking racist if everybody's going to be decent and kind and if everybody's going to follow laws and rules and regulations. Imagine police officers not pulling you over because you're not breaking the fucking law. Imagine that world. Like, you couldn't falsely accuse African Americans and have them in court paying money to get acquitted on trumped up charges while not holding the police officers accountable for their fucking bullshit. It should be illegal to falsely accuse somebody of a crime they did not commit. Shouldn't that shit be illegal? Isn't that an abuse of power? But then you want to say, well, you know, sometimes when they pull black people over, they find drugs or they're gonna find that they have warrants. They should be breaking the law before you accuse them of being a fucking criminal. Even if they are guilty, like the fucking Caucasians that are riding fucking dirty but aren't getting pulled over because they're white, that would be balance and that would be equality. That would be a working fucking system, right? How am I asking people to hand me shit when all I'm saying is this is the way the world works? I don't want to show up to a job and work and make $2 less than the person next to me because he's white. How is that asking for a handout? You know what I do? I say, okay, I don't agree with your terms and conditions, and then I leave. But the conflict is that me not agreeing in terms and conditions of me being quote unquote black means that I have less opportunities. I should be able to show up qualified and get paid equal rights. I don't think that that's unrealistic. I don't think that's fair. But if you allow yourself to be told that you are in fact inferior, right? I don't want African Americans flying planes because I feel like DEIE and all of the other things that are built to prevent discrimination, affirmative action, all this other stuff, is just allowing these incompetent African Americans to come into these positions and work these jobs when they're not qualified. Well, guess what? Guess the fuck what? I've worked with incompetent fucking Caucasians. I've worked with them. They fucking exist, and you know that they fucking exist. I'm not saying incompetent white people. I'm not saying incompetent black people. I'm saying there are incompetent people all over this goddamn planet that can't do the job at the level it needs to be done at that get to keep their job because of fucking discrimination, because of the way classism works in the world, right? So if you take the time to look at your world from your eyes, from your perspective, and step out of being a child, because when you spend all your life as a child being told this is how you have to live, this is what you're supposed to do, and then you turn 18 and then somebody says, okay, you're an adult, go out there and make something of yourself, and you're still navigating from this child mentality. I'm not being disrespectful, but when you spend 18 years of your life being raised as a child and you turn 18, you still have a child mentality. So you go into the world and you still have this my mother and my father tell me what I'm supposed to do mindset. Turning Point USA is giving you their fucking axioms so that you can be okay with black people being at the bottom and you're white, so you're superior at the top. And no matter when Kanye West says, I'm the greatest in the world, I'm this, I'm that, he's pushing against all the fucking racism of the United States. I'm not saying he's right, but imagine being a African American. Imagine being Kanye West and you're driving on the street and you get pulled over by a cop because they're driving around in a nice car, you got money, you got bitches, you get pulled over, listen to your fucking song on the radio, and the officer's asking you for your license and your registration, and you're looking at him like, who the fuck are you, and why are you pulling me over? You have to have that fucking ego, unfortunately, because of the way the world is structured. You got to bring that extra energy because you're surrounded by bullshit-ass producers that can't do fucking shit, and you got to humble yourself to them and ask them for money for your craft because they have been put in a position to always be able to maintain their authority. That's what I'm saying. And you're like, don't take a handout. Why are the only successful African Americans at the top in the United States of America all in the entertainment industry? Why? Make that shit make sense. Make it make fucking sense. Name any celebrity other than Neil deGrasse Tyson that's African American that isn't in the entertainment industry. Name one. You can name Michael Jordan, Kanye West, Puff Daddy, Michael Jackson. Name a successful African American that did not get successful in the context of like social media or influencer or what you would consider a celebrity in the world. Name an African American that we would associate with success and being successful that is not part of the entertainment industry. And then why is 100% of the African Americans that are successful in this country all entertainers? All of them are court jesters. Why? Ben Carlson's not famous. Bill, you're right, but he's not famous. He's not a name that the average person will recognize. Go up to somebody. Y'all like coming for me. Find a random fucking person and ask them who Bill Carlson is. Go up to a random person and ask them who is Ben Carlson. Do that 100 times, divide that shit, and get the average. If you do it 100 times and you take accurate numbers, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and you divide that 100 questions by 100 people by 100%, the number you get will be the statistical average of how many people know who Bill Carlson is. And I don't care how you get your information, because I'm all about science. You can do your own experiment with whatever bias you want, because I know that the average person won't even know who Bill Carlson. I know that Ben Carlson was standing on in the Senate talking to them, and people didn't even know there was a movie out about him. That's the stuff that I know. You know why? Because he's black. Because he's black. And that's the problem. He should be an African American. He should be an African American. We should be learning about him in African American studies in school. We should have culture as African Americans. But you know why we don't have culture as African Americans? Because we're black. If you give us culture, then you give us identity. And if you give us identity, then we have a position. And if we have a position, then we understand that we're humans. And if we understand that we're humans, we will want to be treated like humans, and we will want equality. We won't be okay with getting the crumbs. And that's the conflict. Turning Point USA wants us to define the axioms of culture while not actually thinking critically about why individuals in America should be treated like humans. They just want you to accept the fact that the reason why Caucasians have more is because they're automatically better. And I call bullshit. You're not automatically better and you're not automatically worse because of your skin complexion. And I think that competition is healthy. I agree with Elon Musk. Competition is healthy. Stop treating people that have dark skin and nappy hair that are growing up in impoverished environments and spending their youth struggling against the adversities of inequality. Biology is real. But if you want to be honest, if you want to be fucking honest about biology, that would imply that Africans are superior to Europeans. That's the reason why it's a non-conversation. If you want, I challenge any Caucasian male to go to Arizona with me and let's stand under the fucking sun for 8 fucking hours. I challenge you because you're not all fucking superior. And I guarantee that there's somebody with darker skin and better melanin than me that can stand next to me in the fucking sun and I will pass out first because we're all fucking human. We're all fucking human. The capacity by which you can make a proof doesn't justify anything else. You can't say, yesterday I was 7, this is a Pop-Tart. That's not how that shit works. This is not a Pop-Tart because I was 7 years old once in my life. So you can't say that Caucasians are superior. You just can't. You just fucking can't. The statement is a non-conditional statement. It doesn't even equate or value to anything. It doesn't. It has no value. The only thing Europeans did was be more barbaric than the people that they oppressed. That's all they fucking did. They had guns and they was willing to use them, and the people that they were attacking and engaging were humble and respectful. They were going around to people that were honest, kind, decent, and humane, and taking advantage of them and exploiting them and treating them like shit. And they did this to a point where they were so fucking comfortable with what they did that they started being honest about it. And when you watch Turning Point USA and Donald Trump stand on the platform and say, I want to make white America great again, you need to understand that is the energy that he's talking about. And as the average person on this planet, not just America, but as a global people, you need to really think about what you want to do when Paul Emerson is no longer on this earth. When I'm dead and gone and you're still fucking here and you're 40 and you're watching the next generation come up and the fucked up society that we left for you, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be a 40-year-old man screaming at a bunch of 20-year-olds, trying to get them to understand what's going on, having to listen to them tell you that you're just whining, complaining, and making excuses? Is that the legacy that you want? Because we don't want to fucking listen when we're kids. And I don't need you to believe what I'm saying. I just want you to take that extra step to challenge your own insecurities and your own belief system. If you really truly believe what they're saying is true, go challenge that shit. If you really believe that you are Caucasian and that you're superior, like Charlie Kirk said, debate is good and healthy, go fucking challenge an African American to a debate to prove your superiority to him. Prove that shit. Be fucking better. Be fucking better. If the Caucasians that were in a position of authority were fucking better, we would all benefit from it. But it's a fucking shit show. It's a shit show. They're not fucking qualified. Ben Carlson is fucking qualified. He's not in a position of authority because of the racism. He's fucking qualified to do shit, but he can't do it. He can't fucking do it. I agree. I can stand in a song means that I'm superior. That's why I don't say that shit. For every condition that is true, there will always be a condition that will prove you false. That's called life. That's what they use against you. That's what they use against you. This is a true story. When I was in my 20s and my brother was still in high school, and we were on a soccer field because he's a kid, and he was with his buddies. And his friend was some ethnicity. I don't know what the ethnicity was. I think he might have been Russian. And he wanted to he played soccer. He's like, I'm the best goalie ever. I'm so great And he's a kid though. So, and I mean kid, like high school. Like I'm in my 20s. I'm like 26, 27, and he's like 15, 16. He like, I'm awesome. I'm this, I'm that. I can do this and I can do that. And I'm like, okay. And so he like, I'm the best. And he kicked the goal. He kicked the ball into the goal. I wasn't supposed to be the goalie. I was just there. He kicked this ball like I'm the best ever. He kicked the ball. The ball goes flying up in the air, and he kicked it like a regular soccer kick. But because he wasn't actually trying to be better than me, I blocked that shit. I used to be a kid. I grabbed that ball, jumped up in the air, grabbed that ball out of the air, came out with it. He like, I hate you. Not because he hated me, but it was just like, I wasn't expecting you to do that. And if you would not, had I known you would have done that, I would have brought my fucking A game. But you just made me look like shit because you don't play fucking soccer and you just grab my ball out of the air while I'm gloating and trying to be the best, right? Every condition in life will always prove to you that there is another condition. Like, it will always be that way. But unfortunately, I gotta go to work. So as always, my name is Paul Emerson, and I've given you my 2 cents. This has been a healthy, productive conversation. I appreciate you guys signing in, and I will do more because it's training videos in the future.